Hey everyone, Reid Henrichs of Ridge. The purpose of today's video is because we're coming up on our 4-year anniversary of Sandy Hook. If you were around 4 years ago, which I'm assuming everybody watching this was, I'm sure you remember where you were when that happened. I can tell you exactly where I was. I was in high school. I was teaching history to high school sophomores. And I remember when I got the news, checked my phone because I always had it to check time. And I saw a bunch of messages from people that had said, hey, this is what's going on in Connecticut, this is what happened. And I remember as a teacher being responsible for all the students that I had. I had over 20 students in my class. Now I was pretty concerned about that. And when I understood at that moment that the kids were also scared when I told them about it. And they understood, what was the point of what I was trying to tell them is that there are crazy people out in this world and that we've got to be ready to fight them. Most of the students that I taught at a rural high school in West Tennessee. Probably one of the best schools that I've ever been to. The kids are respectful and nice. And I just remember them understanding that there are bad people, that there is going to be these situations that happen from time to time. Now, some of you watching this video, I'm sure if you clicked on the title, you're wondering what's going to be said and what is the point of the video. Well, as a person who has not only been who has taught high school, and as a person who's also been in law enforcement, I understand the importance of being able to protect yourself. I understand the importance of being able to protect yourself in any situations, no matter where you are. Now, before you go out there, and I'm sure that there's some teachers out there saying, well, guns shouldn't be in schools. I bet you don't have a problem with the security guard having a gun in there. I'll bet you don't have a problem with the police that are going to arrive at the moment where you need them the most. I bet you're not going to care that they have guns. So we can either, and there are two possibilities in this situation. One, we can try to limit the amount of the active shootings that happen, the school shootings that happen. We can try to limit that, or we can try to minimize the actual results. Here's what I do know, that in countries across the world where they have stringent, very strict, or even completely preventative firearms gun control laws in the book, these things still happen. You need to look no further than Beslan in Russia, where hundreds and hundreds of children were killed. And Russia has some of the strictest arms control in the entire world. I have several friends that live in Russia, that were born there, that grew up there, that live there right now. Dima Yermak and Dima Griesdok from Center T. I'll put their link in the description box below. And they talked about firearms ownership in Russia as being severely restrictive, and if not nearly impossible for a person to even own one, much less carry one. We look at other countries around the world where these things happen as well. So you're never going to limit the actual occurrences happening. What you can do is that you can prevent the actual effects. You can prevent the effects. And how we can do this, folks, how we can do this is to have law-abiding citizens armed and trained in how to use their firearms. I can't tell you how many times, and if you think that I'm not emotionally involved with this topic, I can guarantee that that's not the case. My high school students can tell you that's not the case. Anyone that's heard me talk about this topic will tell you that's not the case. One of the most emotional calls that I ever had as a police officer was a home invasion on 2 girls who were not teenagers. They were young girls. And that was one of the most emotionally charged calls that I ever got to. And in fact, I don't think I've ever driven as fast as I have driven to get to that call of a home invasion in progress with those children. So we have to think about what we're going to do. You have gun control. It's not going to limit crazy people from obtaining weapons and hurting children. That's not going to happen. If we try to prohibit good people like you, or the police that are off duty, or the teachers, the thousands upon thousands of veterans who are trained in the use of arms that are now high school teachers, if we try to prevent them from carrying firearms into a place where they teach and that they are able to protect the people under their charge, if we continue to prevent this from happening, more school shootings are going to continue to happen, folks. Have we learned anything since Sandy Hook? Gun control does not work. Gun-free zones don't work, folks. And if you go back in time, if you just simply do an academically honest search on school shootings, every one of them was a gun-free zone. So you can mark and you can put the mark of Cain, gun control, on every school in the country. And it's not going to stop crazy people from going in there and hurting people, folks. On the other hand, if you absolutely are smart about this and enact legislation that allows trained, dedicated, righteous people to carry firearms into these schools, like teachers, parents, you're going to see the amount of children that are dead decrease. You're going to see the reaction time absolutely be minute. Look at I'll give you an example just recently. It's not a school shooting, but it most certainly was an attack by an individual at Ohio State University that just happened last week. The police got the call. The police officer, the guy that actually did his job, the police officer was very nearby. The call was given at I forgot the exact time, but he was there less than a minute later. That thing was over almost before it began. Yeah, people got hurt, but it was over soon because the guy was right there. Folks, police respond and react to crime. And we've trained all kinds of police officers. I'm a former police officer myself. I get the reaction time of crime. The longer the reaction time, the more people are going to get hurt. If we front load this equation with an armed, law-abiding citizen up front, if we have them in the immediate vicinity, in the immediate building, in fact, maybe even in the same room at which the shooting starts taking place, the death toll is going to be far, far less. Legislation passed or not passed, I encourage everybody out there, every single one of you, to arm yourself and stay armed. No one's going to know that you're armed unless you tell them. So we can talk about rules and regulations, but the bad guys don't care about rules and regulations. And when a bad guy starts attacking kids or anybody else, you've got to be prepared. You've got to be armed. It's got to be on your body. It's got to be loaded. And you have to be willing to make that decision to save people's lives. This is not some call for vigilantism. It's not some call for rogue warriors to go out there and start hurting people. What this is a call for is for you to carry your gun on a daily basis, regardless of the circumstances, and be able to protect and preserve individuals' lives, whether it's small children or elderly or anyone else in between. You've got to be ready for that. And you've got to be ready to secure and protect the area and the people at which your vicinity is your responsibility. This is 4 years after Sandy Hook. People are still clamoring for gun control. People are still clamoring for you to disarm yourself and not be allowed to carry your firearm because of some phobia that they have. Well, I'm here to tell you this right now. People like me, people like you watching this video that have families, we are not the issue, we are not the problem. In fact, we are the absolute immediate remedy for evil people that want to do evil things. If you like the video, subscribe to my channel, follow me on Facebook. And if you want to learn how to protect people with your handgun or your rifle, come on out to Valor Ridge and we will teach you exactly how to do that. This is Reid Henrichs for Valor Ridge, reminding each and every one of you that the lessons that we learn are written on the tombstones of others. See you on the ridge.